More than $600,000. That's what a handful of Lincoln pennies sold for, and most collectors would have passed them without a second look. One looked completely ordinary. Another raised questions nobody could answer. But the final penny became the discovery that changed everything. Before you dismiss another Lincoln cent, watch what happens when we reach coin number 3. First, the 2003 penny that started the mystery. A dusty cardboard box sat untouched on a shelf for nearly 20 years. Inside were old receipts, faded photographs, and a handful of ordinary-looking pennies. Nothing about the collection appeared valuable. In fact, most people would have tossed the coins into a jar without a second thought. But hidden among those copper-colored pieces was a single 2003 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, a coin that would eventually attract serious attention from collectors. At first glance, the coin looked completely normal. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait appeared exactly as expected. The date read 2003 there. Was no obvious error, jumping out to the naked eye. No unusual color, no dramatic damage, nothing that would make an average person stop and take a closer look. But experienced collectors know something important. Some of the most fascinating discoveries in modern numismatics don't announce themselves immediately. They hide in plain sight. The 2003 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was produced for circulation at the Philadelphia Mint. During that period, billions of cents entered commerce across the United States. Most were spent, saved, and forgotten. Because of the enormous production numbers, few people imagined that any 2003 cent could ever become noteworthy. Yet collectors began noticing that a small number of examples displayed unusually strong strikes, exceptional preservation, and characteristics that separated them from ordinary circulation pieces. As researchers and grading specialists examined surviving examples, another question emerged. How many top-condition 2003 Philadelphia cents actually existed? The answer was surprisingly few. While millions of coins were struck, very few survived in near-perfect condition. Most entered circulation immediately, collecting scratches, contact marks, and wear. Every trip through a cash register reduced the chances of a coin remaining pristine. That reality transformed the search. Suddenly, collectors weren't just looking for a 2003 Lincoln cent. They were searching for one that had somehow escaped decades of damage. The challenge became even greater when grading entered the picture. Professional grading services evaluate every detail of a coin's surface, tiny imperfections invisible to most. People can determine whether a coin receives an average grade or a nearly perfect one. A single mark can dramatically affect desirability. As the years passed, competition intensified among advanced collectors attempting to secure the finest known examples. Then came the auction results. One remarkable 2003 Lincoln cent without a mint mark achieved an elite grade that placed it among the very best known survivors. What appeared to be an ordinary 1-cent coin suddenly became a prize piece within the collecting community. The price shocked even seasoned hobbyists. That single penny reached a reported value of approximately $87,000, turning 1 cent into a headline-making collectible. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. The coin wasn't made from gold. It wasn't centuries old. It wasn't hidden in a pirate chest or discovered in a lost treasure hoard. It was simply a modern Lincoln cent that survived in extraordinary condition when almost every other example did not. But the mystery doesn't end here, because another Lincoln penny, hiding in plain sight in collections and coin jars across America, has created even more excitement among collectors, and its story begins with a detail most people overlook completely. The room fell silent as a veteran coin dealer tilted a small Lincoln cent under a bright examination lamp. He had reviewed thousands of pennies over the years, but something about this particular coin refused to make sense. The date read 2000. The mint mark was D, indicating it had been struck at the Denver Mint. And on the reverse side, there appeared to be a strange impact, a feature that many people would have dismissed as ordinary damage. At least that's what everyone thought at first. The coin had arrived as part of a routine collection. Nothing about the group suggested a major discovery. There were common cents, nickels, and quarters, all carrying modest values. Yet this one penny kept drawing attention. The dealer set it aside for further examination. That decision would become the first clue. The more closely the coin was studied, the more unusual it appeared. The mark on the reverse wasn't behaving like typical circulation damage. Its placement, shape, and appearance suggested that something much more interesting may have happened during or shortly after the minting process. Questions immediately surfaced. Was it simply a post-mint hit? Could it be a striking anomaly? Or was this one of those rare cases where a seemingly minor feature transformed an ordinary coin into an object of intense collector interest? The investigation began. Magnified photographs were taken. Specialists compared the coin against standard 2000D Lincoln cents. Reference archives were consulted. What researchers discovered only deepened the mystery. Most examples from that year showed predictable production characteristics, but a tiny number displayed unusual surface events and striking abnormalities that separated them from the billions of normal cents produced by the Denver Mint. Finding one was difficult. Finding one in exceptional condition was another challenge entirely. As information spread through collector circles, demand increased. Enthusiasts started searching bank boxes, old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten coin albums, hoping to uncover similar examples. Most searches ended in disappointment. A few produced interesting leads, but only a handful attracted serious professional attention. That became the second clue. Rarity wasn't necessarily tied to the date itself. Instead, it was the combination of the specific striking characteristic and the condition of the surviving coin that created excitement. Months turned into years. Collectors continued tracking notable examples. Auction records began revealing a pattern. Whenever a superior specimen appeared, competition intensified. Bidders weren't simply purchasing a penny. They were chasing a mystery. Each new appearance added another piece to the puzzle while simultaneously raising more questions. Then came the moment that changed everything. One remarkable 2000D Lincoln cent featuring the unusual reverse strike characteristic reached an elite level of preservation, rarely seen for the issue. When it crossed the auction block, experienced collectors immediately recognized the opportunity. Bidding accelerated. The numbers climbed higher and higher. What began as a single cent transformed into one of the most talked about modern Lincoln penny stories. By the time the auction ended, the coin had achieved a reported value of approximately $173,000. For a coin originally worth just 1 cent, the result seemed almost unbelievable. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this investigation is what happened next. Because while researchers were examining modern Lincoln cents, another penny surfaced, one carrying an even stranger story, an even more puzzling clue, and a discovery that nobody saw coming. And that coin may be the most surprising of them all. The auctioneer paused, glanced across the room, and smiled. Collectors from around the country had gathered for the event, but one lot was attracting far more attention than anyone expected. It wasn't a rare gold coin. It wasn't a centuries-old treasure recovered from a shipwreck. It was a single 1994D Lincoln cent, a penny. Yet the bidding had already climbed to levels that left newcomers completely stunned. Why? That question takes us into one of the most fascinating modern Lincoln cent stories ever told. The year was 1994. America was changing rapidly. Technology was expanding, the internet was beginning to enter everyday life, and the Denver Mint was producing enormous quantities of circulating coinage. Among those coins were millions of Lincoln cents destined for cash registers, piggy banks, and pocket change across the country. Nothing about the year suggested that one of these pennies would eventually become the focus of intense collector attention. For years, countless examples passed from hand to hand unnoticed. Most were spent. Many were damaged. Others disappeared into jars and drawers where they remained forgotten. But hidden among those ordinary cents were a tiny number of extraordinary survivors. Collectors first became interested when exceptionally preserved examples began appearing during grading submissions. These coins displayed remarkable quality compared to what experts typically expected from circulation issues of the era. That was the first clue. Then came the second. Population reports revealed something surprising. While millions of 1994D Lincoln cents existed, very few had survived at the absolute highest levels of preservation. The difference between an ordinary example and an elite specimen was enormous. Suddenly, the hunt intensified. Advanced collectors began reviewing old rolls. Dealers searched inventory boxes. Researchers studied auction archives. Every discovery seemed to raise new questions. How many truly exceptional examples remained undiscovered? Could more still be sitting unnoticed in private collections? Or had most already been lost to circulation decades ago? As interest grew, competition followed. The finest known pieces became targets for serious collectors, determined to own the best. Each time a superior specimen surfaced, attention spread throughout the hobby. The story was no longer about a common penny. It had become a pursuit of perfection. And in numismatics, perfection can be extraordinarily valuable. Years of searching, grading, and research ultimately led to one remarkable coin standing above the rest. When it appeared at auction, anticipation filled the room. Experienced bidders knew opportunities like this rarely appear. The opening bid was strong. Then another bidder entered. And another. The numbers continued climbing. What started as a 1-cent coin transformed into the centerpiece of an intense battle between collectors. The room grew quieter with every new bid. Eyes remained fixed on the auctioneer. The final price would become a headline throughout the collecting community. Then it happened. The hammer fell. The legendary 1994 Lincoln cent achieved a reported value of approximately $367,000, a single penny, worth more than many homes, worth more than luxury cars, worth more than most people would ever imagine possible for a coin they might overlook in everyday change. And that is what makes the Lincoln cent series so remarkable. Sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't hidden in vaults, buried underground, or locked inside museums. Sometimes they begin as ordinary pocket change. The next time you come across a Lincoln penny, take a closer look, because history has proven that extraordinary treasures don't always look extraordinary at first glance. And somewhere, another forgotten coin may still be waiting for someone to recognize its true value.